Hello, guys, and welcome everyone. Last week we talked about a few budget entry level builds, and this week I would like to talk about some mid tier gaming builds. I would make four different builds, two with AM4, and I would make two with Intel 14th gen 14700K, and one with DDR5 and one with DDR4 just to compare them. But before we start, I would like to highlight that if you go to the Epic Games now, they have Hogwarts Legacy for free. So make sure you go and snatch that if you don't already own it. Really, really good game. One of my all-time favorites. But let's dig into it. The reason why I have chosen the 14600K is because it's less than 100 kronas more expensive than the KF. And you really have some great benefits from the iGPU. You can use it for encoding videos, streaming for YouTube, recording with OBS. You can use it if you want an extra output. Like if you don't have a high-end GPU, you can only have two high refresh rate monitors, and it won't be able to support a third. And you can use the iGPU for the third if it doesn't support it. So some great value in the iGPU. So that is why I have chosen this. We will make two builds from this, one with DDR5, call it D5 here, and we will make one with D4. Then I think we should take a look at the 9600X because this is also really, really good mid-tier build. It's really good for mid-tier build. We could also go with 9700X, but I think it's a little bit too expensive for what we want to build today. And here we only have DDR5, so we don't have to verify that. And as an alternative, 7700X. And unfortunately, it has gone up in price since yesterday by 100 kroner. So, but 1800 is still very reasonable price, right? So, and all these CPUs are around the same price to performance point or thereabout. The 14600K is a little bit better than both actually, but 19600X has the highest clock speed. So the 14600K has the highest overclocking potential, but since it's 14th gen, I wouldn't recommend doing that. I would actually just recommend doing a slight undervolt, like a minus 30 milli to 100 millivolts offset, and leave it at that to lower the risk of degradation. And that would bring us to, let's go directly to RAM. The difference between DDR4 and DDR5 RAM is 0 to 5 to 6% in performance. A few games, and this will mostly be the very high refresh rate games where you have 600 or 700, 800 FPS. You could maybe experience up to 10%, but I don't think it's as impactful in when we reach these very high refresh rates, because does it really matter if you have 620 FPS or you have 580? I don't really think so. But if you think so, then you should not go with DDR4. So that will just be for this disclaimer, right? We will start with the DDR5 RAM because they are the most volatile and expensive. Last week we took a look at the 16 gigabyte kits, and they were really not available, and they were very expensive. So it, it's nothing. It's not available and not recommended to go that route. So we want what's in stock. We want to see all the way from CL3028 to 36. There would maybe be 1% difference in performance from CL30 to 36, and it will run on anything. Anything that is DDR5 will run on AM5 today if you download and install the newest BIOS. In the beginning, it was not like that at all. So it was different back then. They were very sensitive about it. Also, you wouldn't want to buy 16 gigabyte kits because you can't expand with another 16 gigabyte kit. You would have to buy a whole new 4 RAM kit paired already because it will more likely not work if you just buy even the same kit. It will more likely to not work than work. So buy what you need now, and if you want to upgrade later, you have to sell the kit you already have and buy a new one if you want more RAM with DDR5. We want 2 modules, and don't know if the Seal 30 is 130 krona more worth. I don't think so. Is this in stock? It is in stock. Is this in stock? It's in stock also. I think we just go with the cheaper kit. Don't think it will make a big difference. So we have RAM, then we need a motherboard. And let's start with the AM5. We want B850, B650. We want. I don't think there are any available, but the X670 and X670E is also really good. We don't want. This is like the A620 of the new generation. The B650E could also go. There was a really good offer at Black Week for an Asus one for 850 crowns, I think. So that would have been really good in this build, but not available anymore for that price. And we want ATX. We could go with MATX, but I prefer ATX. And I don't think I would recommend the UDAX. AX means it comes with Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, by the way. So this is not with Wi-Fi. This is with Wi-Fi. This is with Wi-Fi. It has AX in it. The PT Lightning is not with Wi-Fi either, but this is also a reasonably good board. But for only 80 kronos, 90 kronos more, we can get a B850. And I think it's worth paying a little bit more for the B850 than going with like a Pro RS here. So let's add this to the AM5 builds and then remove all these again. And we go up, remove this. We find Intel circuit LGA 1700. We need to find the C790, 690. We want B760 and 660. And then we want to find what is cheapest. And here again, we have some cheap ones. This could go for budget builds, but since this is not a budget build, and maybe later we want to upgrade because we need to, or we have some insane offer on a 14900K or KS, and this board will not be able to actually load these. I think it's between the Gaming X and the Pro RS. This is DDR4. I didn't go to memory here. Where is memory? There is memory. Let's start with the DDR5. And I think this is a really good board too. I think I would recommend getting the C790 here for 1225. But since we're trying to save money on this build, I will go with this, and this will do just fine. This would be much better if you want a 14900, the option of going 14700 or 900K later, but this will do for this build. I think it's still 300 kroner. 300 kroner is 300 kroner, right? So if you can afford it, I would recommend going with this. But for this build, we will take this one, and then we find the DDR4 instead. And do we have anything great here? I don't think I like the Prime. I don't think heat sinks are good enough quality. We could go with the Gaming Plus or the Pro RS. And since we went with Pro RS with the other four, it makes it's kind of the same. I think we'll go with the Pro RS here too. This is a reasonably good motherboard. It works. It has good amount of M.2s. It has whatever you need. It's not a great motherboard, but it's not something you would regret in any shape or form. And here I wouldn't recommend spending those extra 400 kroner, 450 to get this 400, actually almost 500 kroner more to get the C690 here. But this would have also the C motherboards would also have the potential to overclock if you wanted that. But I would just recommend going with a slight undervolt, like 30 to minus 30 to 100, minus 100 offset. That would be my recommendation for TN600. What else do we need? We need a power supply. And for power supply, I would recommend 750 or 850 watt. Um, the Chief Takes is still the best and the cheapest. If you, oh, they have it in stock. I just thought they didn't. If you want a modular one, I understand that. And if you want a modular one, any of these are good power supplies. The most silent one is the Pure Power 13M. It only has like 25 dB, where the AG has up to 40 or 42 dB on full load. You probably won't ever reach that anyway, but the C850 is also really good. The Superflower LEDX is one of the very best. And just below that is the RMX from Corsair. But all of these are very, very good power supplies, and all of them are recommendable. It's just whichever one is the cheapest. You could also go with the PQM here. It's also really good. From DataWorld. I really like DataWorld. They've helped me out a lot. So I think, let's see, it's actually been priced for a long time. But this is also A tier material. So all of these are great. What differs mostly from these is the cables. Are they individually sleeved? Are they plastic? There's something with the ripples and the protections that are different, but all of them are great. But since this is so much cheaper, I don't see why we wouldn't just go with this. Because we have the compartment behind the power supply to hide all the extra cables. We just strip tie them up there, and we won't ever notice they are there anyway. It comes with 12-volt high power and two PCIe 6+2. And of course, all the Molex and the SATA stuff will also be there. And it's really all we need. Don't really need more. And if we go for, I think we need to go up to, I don't know if the AG has, does the AG have, no, this only has three, no, it also has two down here. This could also grow, I guess. But if you look at the Pure Power 13 amp, it has one, two, three, four, But also have five. That's not so bad. Some of them only have four, and then you might run out if you want one of those RGB battle stations. Then you will have a big controller, and it will need a PCIe connection because the SATA is not able to supply enough wattage. So you might run out if you take one of the cheaper ones. So just be mindful of that, that you want more than three PCIe outputs on your power supply. Maybe it's the 12M I remember that has only this one, two, three. Yeah, this only has three, and I wouldn't recommend that. It has four. One, two, three, four. But this is, if you have a higher end graphics card, you need two or three of these. Then you only have one to spare. This would also go anyway. But since the Vega is half price, I don't think there's much discussion which we should choose. This is an A tier. All of them are A tiers. Just pick this one. It's cheap. So I think we're talking enough about this. We need to go and find, and I will recommend the Frozen A620. This is on par with the Peerless Assassin and all those coolers in that category. It's not the same build quality. It's a little bit more plastic to look at and to work with, but the cooling effect is the same. So, and it's much cheaper. It's 100 kroner to 150 kroner cheaper than the next up. And you could also go just with an FX 60 from ID Cooling if you wanted an AIO, and it's still double the price. So, and we're trying to save money, and this will do the job. So, I think this is only 10 kronos more, and it does add a little bit of dramatic effect if you want the RGB. If you don't want, just save the 10 kronos. But for this build, for you guys, I am putting it in. So we still need a case, and I think for this build we will take a DNE 207. This is a really good case. It comes with two big fans in the front and two fans in the bottom. It has great airflow. It has potential for AIO in the top and an extra fan in the back. I don't know why they haven't added that extra fan already. It's really annoying, but it's still a good case and has very good airflow. It's one of the very best cases for this, along with the Torrent and the Meshify. And the 2017 is also up there, and the Antex Flux. Some of the new ones. I think Haven has gotten a new good airflow case too, but they're like two or three times the price of this case. It's also very nice to build, and it has a suitable amount of room over the CPU, so you can actually plug the power in. You don't have to have baby fingers and arms to get in there, and it's really good case, just all over. Very recommended here from this channel at least. What are we missing? I think we're missing two things. What are we missing? We are missing graphics card and SSD. Let's look at graphics card. To look at graphics card, we need our price comparison here. And if we look at price versus performance, we can see here that the 9070 is way on top. Let's just highlight what I think is mid-tier potential. I think the 7800 XT is just on the border of being mid-tier because it's just below 100 FPS, but you can easily overclock this card just a little bit, 5%, and then you would get over the 100 FPS anyway. So these are what I would call the mid-tier cards. Everything up here is entry level. And this is also entry level. I think the 1900 XT is performance-wise the same as the 9070, but it does come with 20 gigabytes. So it's more high tier and more capable of running 4K than the 9070 and 9070 XT are. And I do think you need at least 20 gigabytes to probably run 4K. You can run it with crutches and wheelchair and use frame generation and all the upscaling performance mode or something, and do 4K. But I do believe you need at least 20 gigabytes to do 4K. And NVIDIA has not been the supplier of that in this generation at least, and probably won't be either. So let's go with the 9070. Um, we could go with a two fan version from the Pulse, but I think we do want three, and we'll go with the Reba here for just 20 kronos more, right? That's worth. And this might be different if you watch this later today or tomorrow, and you just go pick up what you think is the best. There are no bad 9070 or 9070 XT cards. All of them are good. Some of them had a little better cooling, some of them had a little better VRAM, but none of them are running hot. None of them are throttling on the VRAM. None of them are bad. Let's just say it like that. None of them are bad. Some of them are a little better, but not much better. And it's maximum of 3% better from the very, very top end to the bottom line. So nothing much to win there. Now we need SSD. And we need to go into the hard disk category here. SSD M.2 only in stock. We want TLC. We don't want QLC because they don't last as long. And we want to sort lowest to highest. And we want at least 2 gigabytes because we are now in the mid tier. We're not budget tier anymore. I would recommend not gigabytes, terabytes, 4 terabytes. I would recommend now, but since the prices are so high now, I would stick with 2 gigabytes. I think a D3 is actually reasonably good. What happened to the SN5000? Doesn't it have a 2 gigabyte version? It does have a 2 gigabyte version. Why doesn't this show here? What have I clicked? It's probably because it's not in stock. Let's try to take it off. Oh, it's because it's not TLC. It's probably QLC. Or maybe it's not listed as any of them. Let's try to look at the SSD sheet quickly. SSDs. 5000. It's TLC. Maybe it's just not listed as TLC in here. Maybe we should not care too much about this then. And then I would go with the SN5000. Easy win. I wouldn't recommend NV1, NV2, or NV3. They're not necessarily bad. They can be really, really good. But the problem is they just make them from off the shelf, whatever they can get. So sometimes they have QLC, sometimes they have one controller, sometimes they have another controller, and other times they will be very bad, and rarely they will be very, very good. So I wouldn't recommend it, but you don't know what you're getting. So it's like rolling the dice. Do I get a good one or a bad one? Do I have one that has half speed in 1 year? Or do I have one that will last almost forever? You never know with them. Could also go with a 580. What is the speed of the 580? 400, 400 also TLC. I think there's not much difference between this, but well, the 5000 is 5000. This is 4000, and don't think it would make much difference from gaming perspective. Really? I think we'll just save those 150 kroner. Yeah. You could measure the difference, but I don't think you would ever notice really. The difference would maybe be that you will have, if you have a loading screen that's 40 seconds to a game, you would maybe get in the game 1 second faster in total. So nothing much at all. So let's just go with the SN580. It's not a bad one, it's not a good one, but all the good ones are very expensive, over 1500 Danish kroner. And we do not want to go there, right? This is a good one though, but still 300 kroner more. And if you want, I would recommend you get one with a DRAM cache, like the Samsung 990 Pro, but you're not trying to spend more, we're trying to spend less. So now we have all our products, and let's start here with what I think would be the most expensive one. And we're just below 13,000 kroner here, which is actually reasonable because I think 12 to 14,000, maybe 10,000 is where the uh, 10 to 15,000 is where the mid-tier segment should be. So, and this is really good price for a PC of this caliber. So just below 13,000, this is a reasonably good PC. And then we have this, the only price difference here is the price of the CPU. You do get more cores with the 7700X, but you get faster cores with the 9600X. So in some games, this will actually be a little bit faster. I think in games where CPU matter a lot with the core speed, especially like Counter-Strike and stuff like that. But overall, you will get a better experience with the more cores, and the 7700X will also age a little bit better. But you can save a few bucks going with this one, and this will do the job just fine. You would never regret getting this, I think. This will last until AM6. If you buy it now, it will last until AM6, I guarantee that. Then we have the 14600K, and it's, what's the price of this one? Yep, this is a little cheaper again, and this is mainly because of the motherboard is cheaper. Then we get it cheaper, around 12,500. Of course, there's going to get a little bit more expensive in shipping, not 400 kronos more, but you know what I mean. So very good, a nice price for this. But then we get to the DDR4. The same. What? Oh, I took the wrong RAM. Did we forget to get DDR4 RAM? I think we did. Oh, then let's hurry back and find DDR4 RAM. 32 gigs. That's because we looked at the. I think we would want 3,200 and 3,600 mega transfers, but could also go higher. But I think they are a lot more expensive. But we could put them in. We want what's in stock. We want CL16 to 18. And we want two modules like this. And we have this is 3200, 3600. This is CL18 or what? Yeah, CL18. Will we pay 100 kroner more for CL16? I don't think so. We don't go with CL16. So we go with the D5. Then we go back. And then we go in, just update, go in here, and then we'll see we are way below the 12,000 krona mark. And I think it's worth it to go DDR4. I think the price hike you get for DDR4 is not so significant that it's discouraging. But what you could do is you could spend the money you save on the DDR5 of buying DDR4 instead of DDR5. You could just put that into a better graphics card. So we have what we have 1300 kronas compared to this one. What was the other price? 1200 kronas extra we can go for. And then we could easily maybe get 7090 Ti or 5070 Ti. Yeah, we have here it's probably complete that has something again. Yeah, until the end of the year. They're not in stock, but it's something they get directly from Gainwell. I think it's collaboration they have. So we could get a 5070 Ti. We can put it in here. Oh, did we put it in? That. We go in here. Remove then the 70. We update to be sure. And then we adjust around the same price point. We have now gotten a much, much better graphics card than the other build. And I think if you funnel some of the RAM money you save into the graphics card, I think you would get more performance overall. We can just quickly go look here at the tech power up. We will find 90, no, 9070. We would get 17% more performance here. And we would lose maybe 5%, 6%, maximum 10%. And also, if we talk about Counter-Strike, then NVIDIA cards have a lot better performance in Counter-Strike than AMD cards. But otherwise, oh, yeah, but in Warzone and Call of Duty, it's the other way around, where AMD have a lot better performance. So, but I think I would canalize some of the money from the RAM into the graphics card instead, if you want to stick to the same price point. And I think that's it for today. I don't think there's anything else to say. There are changes you can make, but it will make the build more expensive. You can buy an AIO, you can buy a modular power supply, you can buy DDR5 RAM, you can buy a C790 or 690. You can buy a bigger or better case. You can also buy a cheaper case. You could go with a Montech XR, but it's not so nice to build, and you can see there's not a lot of room above the motherboard to get the CPU cables in. You'd have to mount that before the cooler at least. And then you probably have to take the cooler off every time you need to do something with it. Most of the time you won't do anything with it. But you can get this for a little bit cheaper at least. And then you have a fish tank type build, a cheap one also. You could also go with a Montech 903 Air. It's also very good airflow case. Or the Antex Pro Ultra. Yeah, this has really good fans. It has the M25 fans. It's really good fans for the price, and the case is only, it's about the same price actually as the 207. That's why I've chosen that instead of these. So I think that's it, and I have to say goodbye for today. If you noticed anything, I made a slip up or saying something wrong or anything, put it in a comment. If you have suggestions to what I should look at, should I look at more OptiScaler and more games? Should I try to look at more FSR4 with the 6000 series? Should I maybe look into what is it called? Yeah, anything you can think of. Should I look into something? Is the sound better today? I have gotten another microphone. If it's better, is it worse than last time? Give a thumbs up, write your thoughts in the comments, subscribe if you want to see more, and take care of the spend your money wisely these days. That's all I have to say. Goodbye.